In this module's exercise, we're going to be managing workspaces. I really want to show you how to open, close various windows. That may sound easy enough, but believe me, there are some tricks to it. We're also going to learn how to delete unused tracks and perhaps use track alternatives. Finally, we will hide tracks and pack folders. Let's start with the first two. To hide plugins, we must simply hit the key command V. This is very helpful when you are in the thick of it and you simply need some screen real estate. You perform some actions and then you're right back in action. Something else that needs to be looked at is how these plugin windows are in focus. So when I click on one of them, if I want to close this, I don't want to hit Command Q because that's going to close the entire session, right? Let me go ahead and try that now. You see how it's trying to close everything? Let's not do that. We want to go ahead, click on the plugin window, make sure it's in key focus, and then hit Command W, and that will close that specific window. Same goes for windows like this one here. This is the key command window. I make sure it's in key focus, and then I hit Command W, and then that will close. On a more organizational tip, you should really look into learning track alternatives. You can see that I have this enabled inside of configure track header. More on that in a little bit here, but track alternatives are really going to help you organize your takes. Now this pertains both to audio and to MIDI, and I'm not talking about a take folder. A take folder is to create a composite, whereas a track alternative gives you the space and the ability to nest tracks under each other. So let's say there was something that I played on this track. I'm just going to play this kind of in the background. All right. So let's say I recorded this information in and I wanted to somehow audition this against the track, but not necessarily delete it. I still want to try out other things. Well, in the past, we used to have to create tracks and literally create a kind of repository of various ideas. It was ridiculous, to be honest. Now, you can see that there's an up and down arrow menu next to the title of my track here. So if I hit that, I can go to new, and all of a sudden it's like having another track. Although if I click on that same up and down arrow menu, I can still access the original take, but perhaps I want to try out some new chords, some chord inversions, a faster melody, whatever the case may be. Again, I will play this in just rather quickly. I'm using capture recording, more on that later, but I can still access the first take and then readily access that track alternative if need be. At the end of the process, if you are completely fixed on this idea, you could simply delete inactive takes and that will take care of the rest. Of course, you don't have to do that. You can still have them at the ready should you need them. The next thing to look at is configuring the track header. See all these icons in the track here? Well, these are not somehow mistakenly put there. If I hit the key command Option T or I control click on the track header, we can see an option to customize this part of the program. This is really helpful when you want to access on and off settings, protect settings, freeze functions, things of that nature. So you want to make sure that you have this in your back pocket. Something else to keep in mind, if you hit the action gear menu and you store this as your user default, you can access this at any time simply by going into the new session and then applying user defaults. And then to close this off, I need you to learn how to hide tracks simply because at some point track count becomes a factor. And if you don't know how to hide things or at least place them somewhere else in a convenient fashion, then this is going to become problematic. So we have track 2 highlighted, and if I simply hit Control H, that now has been hidden. Bear in mind it will still play back, but we just can't visually see it at the moment. If I hit this orange H or the key command H, we will now see the tracks that were previously hidden. If you do not want it to be part of that workflow where you're hiding and not hiding, then go ahead and disable the track by hitting the icon or hitting the corresponding key command, Control H. The last thing you want to learn is packing folders. And why it's important is simply because at some point you're going to want to access more screen real estate, but you won't have any more space available. So what I want to show you here is how to select various regions. Can be audio, can be software instrument, MIDI regions, what have you. Control click on this information and then go into folder, pack folder. Now this is not going to look like an ordinary region. We're going to have to do this 2 times over, and then you will find this enclosed region. All the information is still there, but to access it, we have to double click on this region, and then we have a unique view, an isolated view of this specific information. Great if you're editing vocals, great if you are tuning backup vocals. A phenomenal user experience is here for you. You just have to start using pack folders. One last thing to note, if you double click the background of the workspace here, or if you hit this top level button here, this will take us back to the very beginning. And at some point you will be done utilizing this technology, in which case you will control click and you will go to folder and unpack folder to existing tracks, unless you want to create new tracks for them. So I'm going to go ahead, unpack folder to existing tracks, and now we're back to where we were when we first started. So go ahead and play with all of these various ways of managing the workspace. There really is a lot of information here, but I'm just doing my best to condense the most important parts of the program so that you too can become a Logic Pro power user. All right, team, I'll see you on the next one. Take good care, and thank you for watching.